WRU Chief Executive Steve Phillips to begin with. So Steve, over to you.
Croeso I pawb. Thanks to all of you for joining us today in a very important part of our development of the national team. Huge warm welcome to Warren back in Wales, and indeed to Ieuan, our chair. And just want to say that we are absolutely delighted in having Warren back in Wales and driving at the helm of our national team.
Croeso cynnes i chi gyd, wrth y modd i bod ma heddi i croesawu chi, a diolch am ymuno yn ni heddi am y newyddion hyn. A warm welcome to you all, and delighted, I must say, I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. And securing Warren's services in such a short space of time available between the review process, which we had to conduct in its entirety and in the right way, and I thank Wayne for his dignity and decency and how he conducted himself throughout that process as well. And to make this announcement today in such a quick turnaround is no mean feat. And once we decided that Warren was the right person for the job, was one thing, but then go out and get him is another. And I thank Steve and the team for making sure that that happened. And to find a coach to take us to the 2023 Guinness Six Nations, and also beyond to the 2023 Rugby World Cup, and inspire such hope in such a quick period of time in our support base, and never underestimate the power to inspire and bring joy that rugby has within our nation. And of course the hard work starts here, but we all know that Warren's shoulders are broad, and he's more than capable to stand up to that challenge. And I personally would like to welcome Warren on board.
Okay, so thanks all. We're now going to the floor for questions. If you can put your hand up if you'd like to ask one. I don't know, Matt, why do you see? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, if you wanted to go first, Dan, otherwise I'll kick off with.
Yeah. We'll start with Warren, if that's okay. Warren, welcome back.
Thank you.
How does this compare as a challenge compared to your first stint when you arrived in 2007?
I think international rugby is always a challenge. You know, it's always it's the ultimate. One of the reasons when I thought about it and spoke to Steve was kind of remembering the good times about being here, you know, in front of 75,000 people, and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation, but that's kind of what motivates you and gets you excited about that. So, look, I don't think things have changed from when I arrived at the end of 2007. There's always been expectation in Wales, history, and we're in that famous red jersey. So, you know, I think for us, it's about, you know, as a team working hard and preparing the best way that we possibly can to go and perform and get results, and that's, you know, those are the expectations.
The last time we spoke, when you were Wales head coaches of the World Cup in 2019, you said that you'd hoped that Wales wouldn't return to the doldrums once you left. Do you think that has happened to Welsh rugby?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think there's always, you know, it's always a bit of a roller coaster in terms of you have some success and good times, and you're judged on two things, I think, and one's the Six Nations, and yeah, it's probably been a little bit up and down, and it was, you know, potentially a Grand Slam that could have been won, which just slipped by, and there's no doubt that COVID's had an impact on things in the last few years as well, and so, you know, Six Nations is incredibly important, and then also, you know, trying to perform and do well in World Cup years, and that's kind of my focus now, is to, you know, get this team up and running for a good Six Nations, some exciting warm-up games for the World Cup, and then you know, in France, which is, you know, a little bit of a tricky group to get out of, but that's a challenge, and we get out of that, and you know, you can go a long way in that tournament as well. So it's going to be a busy sort of 10 months, but you know, really looking forward to it.
Okay.
So Steph?
Hi Warren. Have you thought about your backroom team yet? Are you likely to keep what you've inherited from Wayne, or are you looking to make changes?
I haven't spoken to any of the coaches. Kind of, you know, there was a review process conducted by the union, and I'm kind of going through that process at the moment of spoken to a number of people, like I said, not any of the coaches, and trying to draw some conclusions from those discussions that I've had with people about, do we stick with everyone, or do we make some changes? So that's just ongoing at the moment, and I know it's pretty challenging for people at the moment with the positions and the roles that they're in, but I've got to make sure that I do the right thing and make the best decision for Welsh rugby and for the team going forward. So that's just ongoing at the moment.
Obviously, your target's doing well at the World Cup. Obviously, there's a lot of players out of contract, potentially looking at moves to France or England or Japan. Do you expect the likes of Will Rowlands to be available at the World Cup? Because obviously there'll be the situation of the 60 cap law. What's your general thoughts on that?
I think those things are all ongoing at the moment. The discussions and I know the union are going through doing a deal with the regions, and hopefully that gets sorted out in the meantime, and hopefully we can get some final decisions on that. I think the challenge for the players is not England, is obviously France and Japan. That's where the big money is at the moment, that's where players have been targeted, not back across the bridge. But the ideal situation is, and I've always said, is we want players based in Wales being selected from the regions in Wales. That is always an advantage to the players who are here in terms of their preparation time with Six Nations and Autumn Series and World Cups as well from the release, and that gives them a huge advantage by being based in Wales, and that's the ideal situation that we want, and hopefully we can keep as many players as possible. But I'm also aware that players, as they do get older and come towards the end of their career, do look for other opportunities, and I've never been, always been comfortable with players being able to make the decisions that are appropriate for themselves and the best decisions for them and their families going forward. So there's a lot of things at stake in that, but like I said, that the number one thing is to hopefully get as many players playing their rugby in Wales to help us have the best possible chance of preparing and performing.
Well, you talked about the tricky group in the World Cup. It's Australia again, and that could be an Australia with Eddie Jones involved in the coaching setup. Do you think that's going to make it even harder if he gets involved?
Well, until that's finalised, I'm not. Always add a little bit of excitement, won't it? So we've had them before in our groups, and there's been some pretty close contests. We've got Georgia as well, and you can't underestimate them, and Fiji are going to be a tricky enough challenge. So, but the thing that I am excited about is that the hardest thing about international rugby is a limited preparation time you have going into campaigns, but the beauty about the World Cup is that you do get that extended time together. So it's kind of like being with a club side or a regional team, where your preparation is so much better in terms of the depth that you can go into and fine-tuning of a team and the time together. So that's what's exciting about World Cup stuff. And we've had some pretty good success in the past, and been unlucky with semi-finals not to have made finals. But so hopefully we can continue in that vein. And I know from a past experience just how hard the players do work and do prepare in terms of, first of all, for the Six Nations, but then ultimately for the World Cup.
That win over Australia in Japan, where would that rate amongst your Welsh successes?
Oh, it was a tough game. It was, and again that went down to the wire, and I think for us, we had that hurdle that we'd lost a number of games in the last few minutes against Australia and Southern Hemisphere teams. Once that we got that monkey off our back, it sort of gave us a huge amount of confidence in terms of going forward. So it was, that was an important result for us to win that, and then to win the group, and that. And if you look at the World Cup pools, there's obviously one side of looks like one side of the draw is a little bit easier than the other side, and so if you can get through in terms of winning your pool, potentially does give you maybe a little bit of an easier run in. Finally, then, your last Six Nations game was a Grand Slam win over Ireland. Almost a whitewash, that game. First game up, #1 ranked team in the world. Here, how much are you looking forward to that? Yeah, it's probably that they are the best team in the world at the moment, and rightly so as well. So probably getting them first up is not the worst thing, and at home. We've always spoken about the Six Nations being a tournament of momentum, and you win your first game and you've got a chance of doing really well in that tournament. So to get them up, to get them first up is probably it's the one game that you want, to be at home playing against the best team, where there's probably a little bit more pressure on them. But I think we'll be pretty excited about getting ready for that game and looking forward to it.
You love a challenge, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So,
As long as I don't say too much, that's a problem.
That's all right. We have time, so I'm going to have to move to one question per person now, because I know there's a number of people that want to ask. So one at a time. Graham?
Warren, welcome back. You took Wales to semi-finals and quarter-finals of World Cups. You did that in the past when the state of the game underneath the national team was often pretty low. It's in a worse state now. How do you go about performing that trick again over the next 10 months?
I don't know what the answer to that is. I just know that how do you create an environment where there are no excuses? And that's kind of what I've tried to do in the past, is a no-excuse environment within the national team. I've been lucky, the support that I had from the union, the Welsh Rugby Union, and Steve and Martin before them, and Roger, gave us the tools to help prepare and train a team to the best of our ability. And so if you can create that no excuses environment, I think you've got a chance that when players do come into camp, everything's there for them to perform, and hopefully you can get the best out of them as a squad. And that's kind of what we've prided ourselves on in the past, being able to do that. And that's the task for me over the next few months, is to try and create that environment that players come in and they're excited about wearing that jersey, they're excited about playing here in front of a full house, and they leave nothing, everything's left out on the pitch in terms of hopefully getting performance and results.
If you just clear up one other thing, that the contract that you got through to the World Cup, the union talked about it possibly being extended to the following tournament. There's a Lions tour in 2.5 years. Are you available for that?
To be honest, I haven't even thought of that. I'm just thinking about the next 10 months. It's kind of like Steve and I have had that conversation. Like I'm well aware that how important the Six Nations and the World Cup is, and for us to do well. I'm not someone who plans my pathway in terms of, I'm not thinking about the future and what's going to happen. I'm a great believer in what will be, and if you're in the right place at the right time, then opportunities come along. So, and that's how I've been lucky enough with my experiences with the Lions. Look, if you're picking a Lions coach at the moment, there's only one person that I think's in contention, and he's across the water living in Dublin at the moment. So, and if you're successful, then those opportunities come along. So I can promise you, I'm not thinking further than the next 10 months.
Alex?
Hi Warren, welcome back.
Thank you.
When you were here last time, the Wales fans knew the team would be competing for Six Nations titles and latter stages of World Cups. Can they dream of that again, or do the targets need to be sort of muddied somewhat, given that you've got such a short period of time to wait? I look at success as not always about winning, but about overachieving. So what are the expectations? What are the expectations at the moment? We probably need to have a discussion about that.
This is Wales. Expectations, okay?
Yeah. Like I said, just one game at a time, and look, you've always got to believe. You've got to dream, and it's probably, for me, as kind of my upbringing and as a New Zealander, as a Kiwi, we always believe, even against the odds. It's kind of like you go in there, you work hard, and if you work hard, you get results. And so that's always been my attitude. Never afraid to take something on as a challenge, but always being positive about believing you can do something and do something special. So, yeah, there's expectations. I understand that, and I wouldn't be here doing the job unless I thought we were capable of winning things.
And when you look at the squad you're going to work with, a lot of the key guys are the key guys that were in your previous reign, combined with a lot of inexperienced players. Do you think the guys like Alan Wynne and Ken can go through to the next year, or are you going to have to try and rapidly bring through some other guys?
Yeah, that's one of the things I need to find out about. I saw Alan Wynne yesterday. He was here with seeing Santa. Yeah, there's a few players that I've got to have a chat with over the next. I mean, I think the thing is, I don't think age is the issue. It's just can they get through in the next 12 months, and how do you manage those people? But performance is obviously some pretty exciting young talent coming through, and if I look back to 2011, we brought some youngsters through in 2011 that. With that World Cup in New Zealand, that went on to be some. So it's just making sure that I find the balance. There might be a couple of older players that are going to be important, but you also got to make sure that you get that right, and players are able to perform for you. So yeah, that's going to be part of the process.
Just last for me, Steve. Can I ask you about the WRU resolution with Charlotte Wathen? Can you just talk a bit about that and what you're going to do to ensure that maybe those sorts of things aren't repeated?
Well, I think as we stated yesterday, we've come to an amicable resolution with Ms. Wathen, and I think that was publicly available yesterday. And I think, like we've always said, we've got to keep on top of these things. We'll never be complacent in anything in terms of equality or diversity, and anything that will impinge upon our EDI plan. So it's very important to us. I think I've said to you before, we did a thorough review, and we just got to keep on top of this stuff. The expectations are very high, and rightly so, on everybody in the WRU, and we will maintain those standards.
We literally now, it's going to be one question with James and then one question with Nick. So James?
Warren, can we just draw a line into the reports that Twickenham were approached? Should we approached at all by anybody from the RFU, and with your Welsh ties, would you have considered it?
I'm only here to talk about Wales. You'd have to talk to them. I'm not here.
Okay, Nick?
Warren, is there enough time to get to where you want to be for the World Cup? I mean, it's obviously that's kind of a big topic at the moment, isn't it? If there's enough time. Obviously, when South Africa had sort of 18 games in the build-up to the World Cup, you can't change the situation you're in, but I'm assuming the fact you're in the seat suggests that you put in.
Well, I think the advantage I've got is that, I'm pretty familiar with the place. I know my way around. So I think that it's not as if I'm coming in cold. There's some exciting young players that have in the team from when I was here last, which is great. So we've got to work on developing a little bit more experience and a bit of depth, and how do we get that balance right? Like I said, there are a lot of things already in place. There's places where I've been to in the past in terms of World Cup camps and Faish and Switzerland and Turkey as well for warm weather training. So those are things that are in place, and like I said, and having that time and that preparation, I think we can get the best out of a group of players that hopefully are going to be pretty excited and pretty motivated to want to perform and be part of the Welsh team in the next 10 months.
Okay, and because we have a short one, this is the very last question.
Steve, can you just tell me, as part of your negotiation with the regions, is the 60 cap rule, is that something, condition that you want to have in place, or are you open to that changing?
But that is a matter that's discussed within the Rugby Management Board, which is a sub-board of the Professional Rugby Board, and that's an ongoing review process. If it needs to be reviewed, it'll be reviewed. We need to look at the pros and cons of having it. You've got the concept of it. You've got is 60 the right number? But the thing, it's an ongoing process. This is not something that we set some time ago and never look at. It's an ongoing process, and if it needs to be revisited, and Warren may or may not have some views on this, but it is something that we'll pick up within the right forum, which is the Rugby Management Board.
Okay, thank you everyone. So I'll hand over to Simon in terms of